Hey guys, Sen here. I've finally gotten done my part 2 of my one-shot guide for all of the districts and all the levels. It's been a hectic past couple of weeks with a ton of tournaments and a bunch of real-life stuff going on, but I finally have gotten this out to you. And also, there's been a couple of major changes with some traps and some interactions. A lot of the runs have changed a lot in the past couple of weeks, and I have made sure that I've come up with the most consistent and the most reliable plans that the top clans use to one-shot all of these districts, because the later districts are more common to run up against for default layouts because clans up here are very lazy about changing their most recently unlocked districts. And so if you learn these are some of the most valuable one-shots in the clan capital. Let's get into it. So starting off, we have the Dragon Cliffs level 1 that's available at CH level 6. And you start off with a barb on the trash hut, 2 zaps to zap down the little building inside, and then after the barb finishes off the first trash hut, it opens up the map so you can drop a pack of archers to snipe the dragon post over the wall. That way, you can drop another pack of archers to snipe down the cannon, pull the bomb. The archers at level 3 survive those level 1 bombs, and then those archers will also, with the help of the ram, pull a zap trap, and then pull the dragon into the rage spell that you drop deeper inside the base. 2 packs of archers to finish it off. After it gets 3 shots off, you drop in 2 rams from the bottom side, 2 barbs in behind to finish off the spear thrower, and then an extra barb on top of the cannon in behind. Make sure the wall is open. You have a spare ram just in case it doesn't go down from the initial 2 rams. Once that final air defense goes down, you'll drop down your last 4 packs of archers on top of the bomb tower, on top of the blast one. Before they lose stealth, you'll drop down a ram to tank the inferno tower beams, as well as a giant to go in behind. And that will all distract for the archers inside the rage spell to pull the other dragon, the final dragon on the level 1 cliffs. And so your archers inside of the rage can actually snipe it down. Then you'll use a hog rider with the hog glider to stun and take out that bomb tower in behind. And you're hoping to keep as much of your barbs and archers alive till the end of the raid as you can. You have a couple of spare barbarians in your camps that you actually don't need for this run. You can pretty safely get it. It's very strong because at CH level 6, you're only facing a level 1 cliff with level 1 defenses, and you have the level 3 barbarian camp for those level 3 barbs and archers. The mid-level dragon cliffs are actually not doable. The DH2 and DH3 ones available at CH7 and CH8 respectively, you can't really do them because you just don't have enough oomph to kill all the dragons and try to take out the base that way. From this point onwards, we'll skip those 2 levels as my barbs and archers are going to finish off those last few defenses. Archers go down south to kill those 2 trash buildings, but we'll go straight in to the CH9 one where we unlock the miner, and Dragon Cliffs becomes a pretty silly one-shot from there. Here we have the CH9 level 4 Dragon Cliffs, and we're going to use miner spam. Starting off, Frost on the Blast Bow Inferno Tower, and then Barb down south to grab the little trash hut, pull the Zap Trap, then another Barb to drag the dragon away, then 6 miners at the very start on top of the trash building as well as Spear Thrower, and then 2 miners in behind to go on top of the cannon directly over the cliffs after the trash building goes down. 1 ram as the miners start going to the middle section to pull the dragon away and help distract the blast bow a tiny bit. The heal spell has already gone down between the bomb tower as well as the air bombs to keep my miners healed up as they get hit by the blast bow, hit by the bomb tower, as well as some dragon flames. And this run, man, this run was annoying. This took me hours to complete. Dragon Cliffs require so much RNG, especially after the miner nerf. These are very low level defenses, which is basically what is required for the one-shot to work. Otherwise, it does become impossible because your miners stay above ground for too long. Even this level comes really close and takes a ton of RNG. You have a bunch of rams and barbs left over, and there isn't really a set place you need to put them. I do recommend putting that next ram where I did, and then a barb to snipe the dragon post if a miner doesn't go up there. But you have to be able to adapt. You have to adjust your plan on the fly because the miner pathing is really random. You'll basically never get a run that's the same as the last, and you just have to be able to adjust and keep those dragons away from shooting at your miners. Another ram to pull the dragon away as my miner sneaks in to grab that post, and we have 2 more barbs left, and those dragons are a little bit far away. That is very ideal when you have a huge pack of miners and the dragons don't really know what to do because they can't catch up to them. Huge miner bombs explode the entire section, and those 4 dragons are basically never going to catch up with my miners. The only big threat to my miners at this point is the top left dragon, and we have 2 barbs over there. The barbs and rams are also good for taking out the zap traps, so we'll take out a zap trap on the right side of that post and try to drop the barb as far right as possible so it doesn't get next to my miners as the dragon is splashing. And we have 1 barb left over, and we just need to pray that my miners can kill those defenses, kill those buildings fast enough before the dragon melts through all of them, and we have just enough HP on all of them. This run comes so close in terms of power, in terms of time. All my miners are in the red at this point. A single dragon breath that tickles them will kill them all, but we have just enough power and just enough time. We'll use the last barb to kill the last little trash hut. We pulled the dragon away earlier. You really want to kill that post on the top section over there because that back section is so nasty. But we'll get this DH4 Dragon Cliffs at CH9 in 1 attack. And finally, we have the CH10 District Hall level 5 Dragon Cliffs. And we're basically coming in with the same exact strategy as the CH9, except with the maxed out Frost Spell, you can now hit the second bomb tower on the backside over there. So we can cover everything, the Blast Bow, the Inferno Tower, Spear Thrower, and 2 bomb towers now. We're using 2 barbs just like before to pull the dragon away as we spam in all of our miners. But we'll also have an additional barb to go down south to pull the dragon even further away so it never gets a shot off on us. We drop the heal spell exactly like we did in the last attack, between the bomb tower, between the air bombs, and we use a couple of rams to pull the zap trap down low as well as distract the blast bow to keep my miners alive and healthy. But at this point, all we have left in the bag is 1 zap. So just like before, this CH10 District Level 5 is very low level. The high level Dragon Cliffs now, you cannot one-shot them post miner nerf. And even these mid-level ones require a ton of RNG. For this CH9 run as well as the CH10 run, I was spending hours just to get these single successful runs. These miners, they go all over the place. They're so random, and when they're very spread out, that means they take a long time to take out buildings and they just get melted down by the dragons. But we also have the additional zap at this point. We're not spending it yet. We're holding on to it just in case we need it. During a lot of these Dragon Cliff one-shot runs with miners, you'll notice that the dragons just all group up on top of your miners at some point, and then there's like 6 or 7 healthy miners, and then 4 dragons over top of them just kill them all instantly. And just like that, you saw there was a ton of miners in a group, and that dragon was looking at the miners, so I stunned that dragon to keep the miners alive. They're pretty healthy right now, but there's still a couple of dragons on the backside, and after the miner nerf, they take a tiny bit longer to get through those buildings, and that tiny bit of time allows the dragons to get a couple of splashes on them each time. And the dragon splashes on Dragon Cliffs, if you've ever attacked this base, you know how annoying they are and how much damage they do to your troops. But we're just gonna pray that we have enough miners grouped up to quickly burst through all those buildings one at a time. They're getting chipped down slowly, one after the other. But now they've gone away from the dragons a little bit, and there's only 2 more dragons on the backside. There are not that many buildings on the backside with that much HP. So as long as we get lucky enough, and that's what this run is all about, Dragon Cliffs is all about RNG and luck. There's very little control you have over this run, over the miners after you send them in. But with just a little bit of time left on the clock, and a couple of miners with a little bit of HP, we should have just enough with that perfect split on the backside. 1 miner to grab those last couple of point defenses, and those miner bombs are going to wreak havoc on the backside of this Dragon Cliffs. This is the CH7 District Hall Level 2 Golem Quarry one-shot. We start off with 2 rams on either side, In behind, we'll drop down 3 barbs on the right trash hut, 4 barbs on the bottom trash hut, and then another ram down south after the first one pulls a zap trap. And then after those trash buildings get cleared on the right hand side, another ram open up the wall as well as a P.E.K.K.A to go after the Tesla that gets pulled, a barrel up the left hand side to provide an extra shield for those barbarians, a barb on the far left to clear all those trash buildings over there as well. And then once the P.E.K.K.A gets inside the dead zone, the blast bow will drop down a ram to continuously tank the blast bow, and then another ram after the P.E.K.K.A gets inside the dead zone at the rocket artillery to keep that rocket artillery as well as blast bow from shooting at my barbs on the far left. Another 2 barbs to reinforce up the left hand side, a barb on top of the cannon once that gets exposed. And at this point, that was a really crazy start, but all the Golem Quarry one-shots start off like this, and it's a very reliable strategy, as well as Golem Quarry is one of the most common defaults, so this is a very valuable strategy to learn. We drop down zaps up the left-hand side to kill all those air defenses, then a pack of minions up top to go in the dead zone. The rocket artillery, a couple of them do get splashed as they march into the dead zone, but if you have a couple survive, which you should, that will be enough to kill the rocket artillery, and you'll hold on to a rocket balloon on the backside. 2 barrels up the right hand side to reinforce, get inside the dead zone, the multi-mortar, and kill all those point defenses. Once the rocket artillery does go down, we'll drop down a rocket balloon towards the air defense, a zap to help reset and stun it, as well as doing enough damage so that those rocket balloons can actually take that thing out in one shot, and then assist on those backside cannons. All the air defenses up the left hand side are gone now, so those minions and those rocket balloons are going to have free reign. I'll ram up the right hand side to get those P.E.K.K.A.s and Larrys over to those final point defenses on the far right, and we have a couple of swag troops just in case you need them to help reinforce or help distract some of those splash defenses in the middle. But the CH7 Golem Quarry level 2 is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and this will definitely translate very nicely to those higher runs. This is the CH8 District Hall level 3 Golem Quarry, and we're coming in with a very similar approach, but this time we have an additional graveyard that we unlocked at CH8. Same approach, 2 rams on either side, 3 barbs in the middle, and then 4 barbs on the far left, as well as another barb on the left to clear those trash huts. Once the map opens up, a ram to pull the Tesla as well as open up the wall towards the blast bow, and the graveyard on top of the rocket artillery is generating troops as my troops start dying out, and that will help distract the blast bow instead of having to use another ram over there. Also, it'll help chip down the rocket artillery a little bit. Once the P.E.K.K.A starts walking in range of the dead zone rocket artillery, then you'll drop down a ram to make sure your barbs and Larrys on the far left hand side are protected. And then the P.E.K.K.A is going to work through the crusher. Those barbs are going to clear all those defenses up the left hand side and funnel your P.E.K.K.A towards the right hand side. The District Hall level 3 ruins has that blast bow on the far right, and you need that P.E.K.K.A to survive over there to take out some of those defenses that are protecting the blast bow. So once the air bomb goes down, we'll drop down a ram from the far top side to tank that blast bow, rocket balloon, as well as zaps to take out the bottom air defense, and then that will clear the way for Mannies to take out the rocket artillery and sweep through the left hand side of the map. A ram to open up the compartment towards the blast bow, a barb to sneak in to take that thing out, and we're just going to wait at this point to make sure the barb can finish off the blast bow. We have a couple of swag troops, including that archer, just in case your P.E.K.K.A took too much damage at the very start, and you need a couple of archers to help assist to clear all those defenses over there. But as long as the P.E.K.K.A does get as far as it does and takes out the multi-mortar, takes out the spear thrower cannon, then you're good. And we're now going to drop down 2 barrels after the blast bow goes down to go in after the multi-mortar, take that thing out, and then once they march towards the top side, they'll grab the multi-cannon, then sweep back down just like on the other run, and then we'll have 2 rams, 2 barbs, and a pack of archers to finish this thing off. We have a ton of extra troops just in case anything goes wrong. This is the OG Golem Quarry one-shot. Just with the extra graveyard, this was the very first one-shot that was ever created in the clan capital by the legend Dave himself, and it stands to this day very much so unchanged, except with the addition of the graveyard spell added to the game. Such a great one-shot, so reliable. It's gotten so many one-shots over the year, and it still stands as one of the most valuable ones to learn. This is the CH9 level 4 Golem Quarry, and we're coming in with a very similar approach, except this time we move the graveyard away from the dead zone of the rocket artillery inside of that little nook and cranny right below the wall to generate Larrys that will distract both the blast bow and the rocket artillery, but same approach with those Rams, those Barbarians. Peck on the far right, Larry barrel up the middle, and then a barb up the far left to clear those trash huts. And you're hoping that those Larrys have just enough in them to distract those big defenses to keep your barbs up the far left hand side protected, but you do have a spare ram to tank the rocket artillery as your P.E.K.K.A. sneaks its way in, and your Larrys from the graveyard do start petering out a little bit. But you need to keep your P.E.K.K.A. alive for this run because it'll be what kills the rocket artillery on the far left. This time we're using some archers. Drop the archer on the spear thrower first, then the one on the cannon because the cannon has more HP and those archers will snipe down those buildings. And then you'll have a third pack of archers to finish off the multi-mortar. And after they get 2 shots, you'll drop down a ram to tank for those archers as well as open up the wall towards the blast bow. Pull the log trap, and then you can sneak in a barb to take out that blast bow. But the P.E.K.K.A. needs to have enough HP to finish off the rocket artillery as well as the cannon. You do have a ram to lead into the air defense to try to take that air defense out with the help of those barbs inside. But once the blast bow goes down, same thing, 2 barrels, one on the air bombs, one on the multi-cannon to sneak in after the multi-mortar to take that all out. And then you're going to wait a little bit on your minions for after the rocket artillery locks onto your other troops. We drop down our 4 zaps before we forget and lose some minions on top of those air defenses on the left-hand side. And then once your minions finish off the rocket artillery and start getting in range of that air defense on the far bottom side, you'll drop down a rocket balloon to take that thing out. And then those Larrys on the far right side, you're going to give them a ram to get them through the wall and support with whatever barbs you have remaining. Once again, you have a couple of troops worth of flexibility. I think you only need 1 barb really to try to get through those last few defenses. 3 barbs will make it very safe and you won't run into any real-time issues. This run doesn't come too close, even though it's a lot tighter in terms of troop space as compared to the earlier Golem Quarry runs. But the max one is when it starts getting really difficult. This one is still manageable with very low RNG. This is the maxed out Golem Quarry at CH10. We're going to start off with a ram down south as well as a barrel and take out that blast, but we're going to wait for those barrels to pop open before dropping down a graveyard spell so we don't have to waste any Larrys as air Larrys. Then same approach, 2 rams on either side, 3 barbs on the far right, 5 barbs this time on the left-hand side to get through all those max defenses faster. And once the map opens up towards the right-hand side, ram pulls the Tesla, P.E.K.K.A. on top of the Tesla, barrel on the far left, split to generate some Larrys from the graveyard spell as well as Larrys from those barrels. And then we'll support the bottom side with a Barbarian as well as make sure that the blast bow and the rocket artillery do not lock on top of my left-hand side troops. Just hope that there's just enough Larrys inside those graveyards to make sure that doesn't happen, because especially when you're up against maxed out Golem Quarry, you don't have that many troops worth of flexibility. Once the map opens up from the far right, we'll drop down 2 archers. The one on the spear thrower goes first, and then the one on the cannon. Once those archers die out, we'll drop down another pack of archers on top of the multi-mortar, wait for 2 shots, then drop down a ramp towards the wall, distract for those archers so they can get through that multi-mortar, and then a barb in behind after that log trap gets pulled. Time is a huge factor on this run. Hopefully you can actually save onto a zap and you're not going to have to use that zap on the entry to take out the blast bow as well as the rocket artillery. Make sure it doesn't lock onto your Larrys, because that zap allows your P.E.K.K.A. to hit some key breakpoints. The death bomb 1-shots the cannon, and then the P.E.K.K.A. 2 swings can get through the rocket artillery when you can zap that. 4 zaps on the far left hand side, the ramp to take out the air defense, and then once those barbarians take out the air defense, take out the trash hut, and they're moving their way down, we'll drop down the minions. But after the blast bow goes down, we'll use the barrel to go in after the far right hand side of the base. Like I said, almost all the Golem Quarry runs are super similar, just a couple of new troops to just take out the extra ruin that gets added on each level. But once those barbs are distracted for the minions, we can sneak them in to take out that rocket artillery, and then a rocket balloon whenever we want to on top of the air defense. None of those rocket balloons will survive when that air defense is completely maxed, but they will take that thing down, and your minions, you're just gonna have to pray there's enough of them there and they have enough time to finish off the base, because Max Golem Quarry comes really tight, like I said. A ramp to open up from the far right hand side of the base to let those Larrys, with the help of 1 more barb, to get through those maxed out defenses on the far right hand side of the base. But we'll just speed it up from here as we get a maxed out Golem Quarry 1-shot. This run is a lot harder than the earlier ones because there's very few room for mistakes, but if you can execute properly, it's mainly about the barb spam at the very beginning and just hoping that your left hand side doesn't get locked onto by the blast bow or the rocket artillery. But if you're able to execute properly, you should have just enough time to get this one shot down. This is the Skeleton Park one-shot at CH8 District Hall level 2, 2 graveyard cells between the multi-cannon as well as the minion hive, then a ram to go in to tank for the P.E.K.K.A. as well as open up the wall, get the graveyard going, get 2 Larry spawned to pull the giant bomb on the approach. P.E.K.K.A. will sneak in to take out the cannon. Hopefully she'll wrap right because you'll drop her from a far right angle and take less damage because the P.E.K.K.A. is the key to making this run work. You need to keep her alive as much as possible throughout this run because she is what will clean up on the back section. 2 ramps just before she goes into range of the minion hive as well as multi-cannon, 2 barbs. One on top of the multi-cannon, one on top of the Tesla, and then a hog rider on top of the Tesla. And then you'll drop down from the far bottom section a ram to pull out a zap trap, and then 3 barbs on top of the Tesla, 1 barb on top of the bomb tower on the top section. After the ram moves up the wall over there, you'll drop down 2 barbs to finish off the wizard tower and air defense compartment over there. A ram up the middle to lead into the bomb tower, as well as pull a log trap graveyard spell now from the far left hand side of the base. And then a ram to distract for 2 barbs to snipe the bomb tower, get those graveyards on the left going to pull another giant bomb, 2 barbs on top of the spear thrower once that thing gets exposed, a pack of minions on the far top section once all those air defenses over there go down, a hog glider on top of the reflector as well as a barb to help support, a hog glider on top of the multi-cannon on the left hand side to take that thing out as well, and then you'll have 1 more hog glider on top of the minion hive once that gets exposed to it so you can stun it and help take that thing out. And you need your P.E.K.K.A. to be as healthy as possible going into the back section. Hopefully your minions, enough of them survive and you don't get too unlucky to take that thing out, but you have a couple barbs to help support on top of your hog riders to help take out the Tesla and take out whatever else you need. I use the last barb to actually tank the wizard tower because I noticed I had a couple of Larrys that were still alive, and that will help my P.E.K.K.A. to get through that section without taking too much damage. My P.E.K.K.A. is in the green, but there is a cannon there as well as those reflectors take so many shots for the P.E.K.K.A. to get through, but we have a barb and some Larrys to clear the trash on the left hand side, and time should not be an issue. It's just a matter of whether or not that P.E.K.K.A. does have enough HP in her to finish off the last few defenses on this base. And if we've executed everything properly, this is a maxed out level 2 Skeleton Park. Even at CH8, we should be able to get the job done. This is the CH9 District Hall level 3 Skeleton Park one-shot, and very similar approach to the District Hall level 2 at CH8. Start off with a ram and a P.E.K.K.A. from the far right hand side of the base to take out that section, and then this time we'll drop down our graveyards like that to keep my Larrys away from the traps because we need those Larrys to survive and help beat through all those point defenses in the middle over there. Just before the P.E.K.K.A. gets in range of multi-cannon as well as the minion hive, we're going to do the same exact thing as last time. 2 ramps to open up the wall, a barb to pull the trap in front of the Tesla, hog onto the Tesla, and then a barb on top of the multi-cannon. 3 barbs and 1 barb on the bottom section after a ram pulls a trap to take out the Tesla, take out the bomb tower, a barb on the top hand section over there after the wall opens up to take out the wizard tower. And at this point we're going to take our hands off the wheel just a little bit and give our middle troops some time to cook. A rocket artillery as well as zap traps will finish up your barbs on the far left, and the rocket artillery as well as the multi-mortar within the hedge over there. That is what causes so much problems when it comes to RNG on Skeleton Park. This run becomes very inconsistent at District Hall level 3, and you're just gonna have to pray that things go well for you. The P.E.K.K.A. needs to have a lot of HP going into the back section once again, so hopefully the Larrys are distracting the cannon, are distracting the Teslas, and all those point defenses to keep the P.E.K.K.A. as healthy as possible. I was not looking. I should have dropped my minions earlier, but we dropped them in just now to make sure the giant cannon does go down. A graveyard spell between all those defenses, so my Larrys will split, pull the traps, as well as distract the multi-mortar, hopefully, so my hogs can sneak in. All but one of the hogs go in all at once to go in after the rocket artillery and sneak in to take that thing out, as well as the giant will pull the log trap as well. And now we have held onto one Hog Glider to stun the Tesla, to take out the Tesla, to keep my P.E.K.K.A healthy through the back section over there. And we're just going to hope and pray that my Hog Gliders have enough to dodge all those traps. We used a barb to clear those middle huts over there, and then once the multi-mortar goes down, we can drop down a couple more barbs, trickle them in to help provide some extra DPS, get through the reflector, 2 more to get through the minion hive. We have 1 more barb in the deployment bar, and we just need to get that multi-cannon down so we can have enough to finish off the base on the backside. It would be nice if you do grab the Tesla over there as well, but it's not completely necessary. As you will see, the P.E.K.K.A swipes through the bomb tower with the help of a Hog Rider, and the P.E.K.K.A is really low, but if you've kept her up enough, and hopefully it's not a very high level skeleton part, because it just becomes so RNG dependent from there, the P.E.K.K.A can finish off the Tesla, and hopefully you have a troop or 2 to finish off those last few buildings on the base. In this case, the Barbarian is gonna win the 1v1 versus that level 1 bomb tower. This is the CH10 District Hall level 4 Skeleton Park, and this run is wild. A haste, a jump, and a barrel P.E.K.K.A leading into the rocket artillery to go and take that entire compartment out. Once the rocket artillery goes down, we use a ram as well as a Sparky to go in after the Tesla. The ram pulls the zap trap, so the Sparky is safe. And then another jump on the far left-hand side to connect the hedge as well as the multi-cannon compartment, so you can sneak in the P.E.K.K.A to go in and take that all out. Just before the Sparky gets a second shot on top of the bomb tower, you'll drop down a ram from the far right-hand side of the base, as well as another jump to lead the Sparky over the river as well, and the ram will take the minion hive as well as cannon so the Sparky can stay safe. Once the P.E.K.K.A finishes off the trash building and is just about to jump the hedge, you'll drop down a miner from the far right hand side on top of the cannon to finish off that compartment and help take out the multi-cannon over there. Then, once the Sparky finishes off the wizard tower, you'll drop down a ram to tank the minion hive as well as spear thrower, and then another ram just as the first one pops open and continuously tank. Then once the P.E.K.K.A finishes off the rocket artillery, you'll drop down a barrel as well as a barb and a ram to go in to finish off all those defenses, provide the P.E.K.K.A some shielding, as well as the barb will pull the zap trap over there. A giant as the P.E.K.K.A is about to approach the multi-cannon, and then you have a couple more troops. Your ram is there to help distract the Tesla on the far right hand side of the screen just in case you need it once the miner starts going over there, but the Sparky is going to clean house up the left hand side of the base, and you have a barb to help support wherever you need it. The P.E.K.K.A needs to get the minion hive for this run to work. There's a couple of alternative runs, and this run is the reason why this video took so long. This run is basically brand new. We just discovered it within a week ago by Shadowcat as well as Lightning, and it's so wild, so wacky. And the miner will finish off the Tesla, finish off the wizard tower as well as air defense compartment. And this run, it comes close on power, it comes close on time. It does not quite work against Max just yet. I believe it's theoretically possible against Max with basically perfect RNG. There's so much RNG that comes in with the P.E.K.K.A when she takes so much damage and takes a bad and weird path. But as long as you're up against lower level defenses, the RNG factor isn't too much, and this run is much better than the old Skeleton Park one-shot methods, and it has already broken the record for the highest Skeleton Park taken out in one shot in the raid weekend just this week, and I expect the record to go even higher with this run, which is so crazy, so wild, and so good. This is the Goblin Mines District Hall level 2 one-shot at CH level 9, and this run is super easy to do. Golem haste from the bottom section over there, a heal spell on the top section to help a giant and a wizard, and you should get bonus gold or maximum bonus gold almost every single time with 100% consistency. This run is super easy to do, and you basically do not even need to practice this. I was able to get it the first time when I first tried it, and as your Golem sweeps through, let's just talk about the Goblin Mines one-shot because it is the most important one-shot to learn in the clan capital. Like I said, it is the newly released district, and so that means a lot of clans have not changed it up yet. And also it has a very high learning curve because there's a ton of different possible levels inside the base, and unlike any other run, The Goblin Mines one-shot is affected tremendously by different levels inside the base, because the different levels will ruin your Sparky pathing on the higher level run, so you need to know how to adjust for practically every single level, every single combination of levels inside the base, which makes the Goblin Mines one-shot the hardest to learn and arguably one of the hardest to execute as well, especially the max Goblin Mines. So I'll be covering a ton of different levels at the level 4 District Hall, just to help you guys out on the main different levels that you'll encounter in the raid weekends. But if you want to become a Goblin Mine specialist, you'll have to check out the levels inside the base before you cook in your army. Once the battle clock reaches 1 minute 30 seconds left, you'll drop down a giant as well as a wizard into the heal spot on the top section over there to get through the goblins on the top section, as well as clear that compartment out. And then miners from the far bottom section over there to help support your golem and make sure he doesn't take too much damage or run into any time issues. But like I said, this run you should have 100% consistency and 100% bonus gold. I don't see how this could possibly go wrong. It's very simple. There's very few deployments as well. So hopefully, if you can do everything right, you can get a very simple one-shot on the Goblin Mines level 2, and we will just fast forward from here. Next up, we have the District Hall level 3 Goblin Mines, and hopefully you have maxed out offense when you're taking this out. We're going to drop down a Sparky from the far right hand side of the base. Assuming there's a level 1 minion hive, you have to take the far right entry like I'm doing here. And the Sparky is going to walk in. You're going to use a couple of rams to help distract the Inferno Tower, a zap to zap down some goblins, as well as a barb in behind to help support the Sparky and clean up any of the goblins that you miss. If the ram on the top hand side of the base survives and pulls some goblins and opens up the walls, you need to drop down your giant and your wizard early to help get through those goblins and make sure they don't start walking towards your Sparky. Otherwise, you'll usually hold onto the giant wizard for later on into the run to help the Sparky as well as wizards converge towards the backside buildings together. Once the Sparky locks onto the crusher, you'll drop down a giant like so to pull off the Tesla, a pack of archers on top of the spear thrower, a ram to open up the wall as well as pull out the log trap, and then a P.E.K.K.A. in behind to grab the cannon down low, and those archers and those P.E.K.K.A.s with the help of all those point defenses gone, are going to slowly work through all those goblins inside that thrower as your troops on the far right hand side clear out the middle. The Sparky's going to take out the giant cannon, take out that multi-mortar with the help of the rage spell that we dropped down preemptively, and then we have a ton of barbs on the backhand side of the base. This run is super consistent. You shouldn't run into any RNG issues. You can use the extra ram, the extra bars wherever you see fit to help distract for Sparky or to kill some goblins, whatever you want inside the base. Once the Sparky gets locked onto by a bunch of defenses, we sneak in with some barbs and take out the spear thrower and try to work ourselves into the last goblin thrower on the map. The P.E.K.K.A. is going to finish off the District Hall. There's a couple of pesky zap traps over there, but that shouldn't be a problem. And we have a ton of barbs to finish off those last few defenses inside the base and make sure that we won't run into any time issues on the backside. This is the District Hall level 4 Goblin Mines with level 1 defenses coming in with CH level 10 offense. We're going to drop down our rages preemptively and come in with the same entry as against the District Hall level 3 base. And the reason we have to come in with this entry is because these bases have level 1 minion hives. If there's a level 2 minion hive, you can actually use a better entry that I'll be showing off later on. But right now, when the level 1 minion hive is there, your Rage Sparky will one-shot that thing, and that becomes a huge problem. And you'll have to send the Sparky towards a suboptimal entry from the far right. A level 2 or above minion hive actually makes Goblin Mines one-shot easier, with the Sparky runs, but we'll have to settle for this. The big problem with the level 1 minion hive is your Sparky needs to take a couple of extra shots and move a little bit further, and that takes time. And so the most common result against a base like this is a 99% time fail, so hopefully that doesn't happen too often to you, but it's happened numerous times to me already. Once the Sparky locks on top of the Crusher, you'll drop down the Giant between the trees to pull out the Tesla so the Sparky can one-shot all of that at once. Sparky is going to take some range shots to finish off the cannon. Hopefully the Giant is not able to punch through the Rapid Rocket, but if the Giant does punch through the Rapid Rocket before the Sparky gets a shot off, you're going to have to drop down a Barb on top of the Rage Spell or the Haste Spell Factory to finish that thing off. And then 2 barrels after the map opens up towards the Spear Thrower. Notice where I drop the barrels, by the way. I drop it at a high angle so more barrels will go after the Tesla and finish that off before the Reflector, so your Larrys can go in towards the Blast Ball along with the Giant as well. Once the Sparky reaches the point that it does, you'll drop down a ram towards the multi-cannon to pull out one set of Goblins so the Sparky can zap them down. You'll drop down a ram before those Larrys down south get in range of the multi-mortar, and then a Giant to continuously tank from there. A Barb down south to help DPS through all those cannons down there, and you'll drop down a Barb on top of the Goblins that are going after the Sparky once the thrower starts shooting, a Ram, a Giant, as well as a Wizard on the top hand side to make sure they can get through all those Goblins, get through the Spear Thrower, and you'll have a couple of Barbarians as flexibility. I said this run was super annoying when it comes to time failing, and the reason that is because there's zap traps by the District Hall. If they're high enough level, they'll one-shot your Barbarians, so you need your Larrys to go in after the District Hall. You'll need some Barbs to start killing those last Goblins from the top left thrower to make sure your Larrys don't get distracted, and they'll stay on the District Hall to finish that thing off. So once the Goblin barrel comes down on top of your Sparky, you'll drop down your Barb immediately to clear those Goblins as fast as possible to force a ton of your Larrys on top of the District Hall, because once again, time is ticking down and down. 22 seconds left on the clock. The Wizard did a great job clearing the top section over there. We have 2 more Barbs that we were able to save because we've been able to deploy pretty optimally, and with just under 10 seconds left on the clock, we'll finish off all the buildings inside this base. This is the Goblin Mines level 4 with level 2.5 defenses, and you have to check that the Minion Hive is level 2+ for what I'm about to do to work. Once the ramp opens up the wall, we'll drop down some more ramps from the far right hand side of the base, zap down all the Goblins once they start grouping up. And if the Minion Hive is level 2+, it will survive your first Rage Sparky shell, and the Sparky will skip the multi-mortar, go after the Minion Hive, and take out all those defenses in behind. This run is much better than the run with the Minion Hive at level 1 because the Sparky takes fewer shots to get through all those defenses, takes less time, and will take less damage on the approach. Now the Sparky works towards the left, very similar as before. We'll drop down a Giant once the Sparky locks on top of the Crusher. I noticed that some Goblins got pulled on the top section over there, so that means we'll have to be faster with our Ram, our Giant, as well as our Wizard to take out all those Goblins in that top section over there. The Giant will help distract the Sparky as she chains down the cannons, and hopefully will chain down the Haste Spell Factory off of the Rapid Rocket. Once the Haste Spell Factory goes down, we'll drop down 2 barrels exactly where I dropped them, a Giant down low to tank the Blast Bow to keep my Larry safe from the splash. Then we'll use a Ram to pull the Log Trap as well as leave the Larrys inside the base. Then once the Sparky reaches the point where she does, we'll drop down a Ram towards the multi-cannon to pull out 1 Goblin, and those Goblins will get blasted by Sparky. Ram to tank the multi-mortar down south, as well as a Giant to continuously tank a Barb down south as well to help support the Larrys and help get them some more DPS so they can get to the multi-mortar as quickly as possible. If the Goblins start grouping up on your bottom Giant, that means you'll have to drop down a Barb to help finish off the Goblins quicker, but we just need to use our Barbs to finish off those Goblins on top of the Sparky because our Sparky chained down all those Goblins off the Spear Thrower earlier. Hopefully the Log Trap does get pulled by those Larrys as they wrap around the wall, but if in case they don't and you have a ton of extra Barbarians, you can actually use a Barb to help pull the Log Trap earlier before the Larrys get there, but the timing is kind of tight on that, so be careful over there. Once the last Goblin Thrower, the first barrel starts coming down, you'll drop down a Barb immediately to kill those Goblins as fast as possible. You need to keep those Larrys on top of the District Hall because there's a ton of Zap Traps over there, and that usually means that Barbs will just die if you try to drop them there, so you need to keep the Larrys there so you don't end up time failing. But we have a ton of Barbs and actually a ton of time left over because this is a level 2.5 with the level 2 hive. The level 2 hive makes your life actually a lot easier when it comes to time at the very end, and we'll get this thing done in one attack. This is the hardest one-shot in the clan capital. The maxed out Goblin Mines are 2 rages like I dropped like that, then a ram on the far right hand side, a Sparky in behind. If you drop the Sparky like I do, the Sparky goes in after the minion hive to zap down the Inferno Tower as well as all those buildings, and behind a wizard as soon as the Sparky finishes off the minion hive to chain down the 1 HP Inferno Tower. You cannot mess anything up on the entry. Rewind to see how I deployed everything, because every deployment there was super precise and timed extremely well. 2 giants in front of the wizards on the far right hand side to beat through the wall, as well as provide a shield as the wizards chain down the goblins one at a time. Once the Sparky takes about 1 or 2 seconds on top of the crusher, you'll drop down a ram to pull out the Tesla in behind, and then the Sparky will get some rage shots. Once she finishes off the reflector, you'll drop down another ram to tank the cannons, the giant cannon, as well as pulling out a zap trap, and you're gonna have to drop down a barb once the giant on the top section goes down. If you don't get lucky enough, you'll have to do that, but check out this trick here. This trick is insane. Before the blast bow gets a second shot off, you'll drop down the ram exactly where I do, and you're actually able to save a giant entirely and save 10 troop space for barbs. That is a big discovery that was made on Goblin Mines by Shadowcat, and it is a trick that makes the run a lot more consistent, but a lot more difficult than before. So Goblin Mines was another base that has seen a lot of changes recently with the changes to the zap trap. You'll notice that we used fewer ramps on the entry to pull the zap trap, and more ramps in the middle to pull the zap trap preemptively for my Sparky. And that just makes the run a lot better because you can keep your Sparky HP up a lot higher than before. And also, you're able to save a couple of extra troop space with the giant saved at 6 o'clock for some more barbs to make the run more consistent in case you make a couple of minor mistakes. Before, it was that if you made a single mistake against the maxed out Goblin Mines, you were just completely screwed. But now you can afford to make a couple of mistakes, and with those extra couple of barbarians, you should be able to get the job done. The 6 o'clock ram trick to make sure you're able to save a giant is very difficult to do, but it is somewhat consistent from my experience. I've had to practice that single deployment around 100 times at least to get it to a point where I'm pretty comfortable in doing it. But if you're able to learn it, you're able to make the Goblin Mines one-shot a lot more possible than it was before. It used to be that this thing was like a 5% hit rate, but now I think you're able to get it around 20 to 30% of the time. Of course, the deployments on this run are so insanely difficult. It is the hardest one-shot to learn in the clan capital still, and nothing comes close. But if you're able to learn the max Goblin Mines, every other level becomes a whole lot easier, and doors will open up to you because this is the single most valuable one-shot to learn. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this guide and that will help your clans out in the raid weekends. It's taken a ton to put this thing together. So much time spent just re-rolling RNG on the Skeleton Park and the Dragon Cliffs one-shots to show you guys how to do those things live. But these default layouts are everywhere in the clan capital, and if you practice them enough in the friendly challenges, you can get them off very consistently and get a ton of one-shots off to help out your clans and boost yourselves in the trophy leaderboard. And if you did find this helpful, make sure you like and subscribe and save this to your watch later just in case you ever run up against defaults in the clan capital. Now you'll have the army and the strategy to help take that thing out in just one attack. Take care, everyone.